Early last year, I decided I wanted to get back into reading. Before that, I rarely read anything unless it was connected to my schoolwork. Since I've made reading a goal, I've been working at making it a habit to read for maybe 1 hour a day or 30 minutes, or at least read one chapter of a book every day. In this process, I've managed to find some really great books that have made it a bit easier for me to stick to my resolution of becoming a reader. Hi, I'm Stacy. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. First on the list is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins. I think there isn't really any summary that can describe how good this book is. It's just something you have to read for yourself, and I'm so glad I came across this book and actually read it. How the main character's story unfolds, it's very bold and it's very human in the most awful of ways, but also in good ways. This book is adult historical fiction, and that genre is not something that I would be drawn to. But I think the amount of praise I've seen about this book right here on YouTube and on other platforms like Goodreads and TikTok sparked my curiosity. And the story itself is so enchanting that I started and finished this book in one day. Now that's something for somebody who's not an avid reader and somebody who can go 1 year with just reading 1 or 2 books. This book is centered around the character Evelyn Hugo. Evelyn is a retired Hollywood movie icon who decides to do a tell-all book about her life. In the book, she details her childhood. She also talks about how she made her way to LA in the 50s, and also you get to see everything that happened in between up until the 80s when she decided to retire. And as the book title suggests, she also talks about her 7 husbands. I think this would be a great read if you find yourself in a reading slump, if you want to become a reader but you're not sure where to start, and if you're just looking for an easy read with a gripping story, this is definitely one book that you would enjoy. On to the next book, which is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. The Unhoneymooners is like those feel-good movies that are just super fun to watch. It's like a feel-good book. I don't know if that's a thing, but yeah. It's what you pick up when you want something light-hearted, something with a captivating story, and it just leaves you feeling happy and entertained. This book is so easy to read and finish, and that's because it's simple in how it's written. And the wordplay between the 2 main characters is so witty that there really isn't a dull moment in this book. You go through the book so fast that it almost feels like it ends too quickly. The Unhoneymooners is centered around the character Olive, who hasn't had the best of luck in, well, everything in her life. Olive has a twin called Amy, and Amy is the opposite of Olive when it comes to luck. For her wedding, she manages to win an all-expenses-paid honeymoon trip to Hawaii. But the unexpected happens. During Amy's wedding, everyone except for Olive and Ethan get food poisoning. Ethan is the best man at the wedding, and he's also the groom's brother. Because of the food poisoning, Amy can't go on her honeymoon. And worst of all, the trip cannot be postponed or given to somebody else. So Amy comes up with the idea of letting her twin sister go in her place. The thing is, Olive has to go with Ethan because it was a trip for a couple. But those 2 have always hated each other and never seem to get along. But then again, it's an all-expenses-paid trip to Hawaii, so who can say no to that? So the 2 set aside their differences and decide to go to Hawaii and pretend that they are the couple that won the trip. As you can expect, a lot happens. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong. But also some good unexpected things do happen. I wouldn't be surprised if this book got turned into a movie. The entire time I was reading it, it really felt like it could be a movie. This is also a great read for somebody who's looking to get back into reading or to start reading a bit more. It's really fun, light-hearted, and just easy to go through. And the third book is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean something. I'm not sure how to pronounce the second name. There are things you come across in life and you just think that the person behind this or the people behind this are very talented. and this is one of those books. Or you feel like you've just experienced something special, and that's truly how I felt when I was reading this book. It is definitely one of my favorite books. While you can choose to read a story and continue reading the story because it's a great story, with this book it just feels like you can't put it down. You really need to know what happens next. The pacing of this book never falters, and the story is told in such a vulnerable manner that it's really hard not to get captivated. On Earth But Briefly Gorgeous is a letter from a son to a mother who can't read because she's illiterate. The speaker, called Little Dog, is in his 20s when he writes to his mother. In the letter he talks about family history, he talks about how certain experiences can affect generations to come. He talks about his relationship with his mother and other family members. He talks about first love and so many other things. I loved every moment of reading this book, and if I was to give it a rating, I'd give it a 5 out of 5. And the last book on my list is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This one took me a while to read, and that's because at some point I was intrigued by the story and really wanted to keep reading, but at other times I felt like the story was moving a little bit too slowly. This book is about 600 pages, so it wasn't easy for me to read and finish, seeing as I just started to get into the habit of reading again. But as much as I say that the story was slow at some points, I still think it was an awesome read. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is about a girl that desperately wants a life of freedom, a life that's free from the confines of society. At the height of her desperation, Addie makes a deal that grants her freedom in the form of immortality. But all this comes at a great cost. Addie is forgotten by everyone that she meets as soon as they part ways. She starts a life full of adventure that goes through continents, that goes through centuries, that goes through the evolution of things like art, music, and just everything you can think of that an immortal person would get to experience. However, her life is in all glitz and glamour. She soon realizes that even though she's truly free to do whatever she pleases, in equal measure, she is truly alone because nobody ever remembers her. And so the girl who can never be remembered sets out to leave her mark on the world. The synopsis of this book really left me super curious to know how the story unfolds. In the first chapters, I thought the story was great, but somewhere in the middle, things started falling into a repetitive cycle with slow pacing. Luckily, the story does pick up towards the end or towards the last chapters. Addie's story is such a great story to tell, and it does feel like such a great adventure, but in my opinion, I think this book could have been written in half the pages and it wouldn't have lost the integrity of the story. Nonetheless, it is a book that I am glad I read. If I was to give all of the books I've mentioned a rating, I think I would give The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and On Earth But Briefly Gorgeous 5 stars. I would give The Unhoneymooners 4 stars, and The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I would give it 3 stars. Or maybe 3.5. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe.